Maya had been working in the mailroom of Prescott Industries for exactly 2 years, 3 months and 12 days. Not that she was counting or anything. Okay, maybe she was counting a little bit. When you spend 8 hours a day sorting envelopes and pushing a mail cart through fluorescent-lit hallways, you tend to notice things like that. It was a Tuesday morning, just like any other Tuesday morning. Maya clocked in at 7:30, grabbed her coffee from the break room and headed to her station. The mailroom was in the basement, tucked away where most people in the building forgot it even existed. That was fine with Maya. She didn't need attention. She needed a paycheck. Her co-worker Ben was already there, headphones in, nodding along to whatever music he was listening to. He gave her a quick wave. Ben was nice enough, but they didn't talk much. Nobody really talked much in the mailroom. It wasn't that kind of job. Maya started her routine. Sort the mail by floor. Sort it by department. Load up the cart. Make the rounds. She knew every corner of that building, every squeaky wheel on her cart, every person who smiled when she handed them their packages, and every person who looked right through her like she was invisible. Most people were the second type. Around 10 in the morning, Maya went to check her employee mailbox. It was a small metal box with her name on it, tucked in a wall of identical boxes. She usually got maybe one thing a week, usually just company memos or reminders about updating her time card. But today, there was an envelope. Not just any envelope. This one was thick, made of expensive cream-colored paper with her name written across the front in actual gold ink. Maya pulled it out and just stared at it for a moment. Her name, Maya Santos, looked almost elegant in that fancy script. She turned it over carefully and saw the wax seal on the back. An actual wax seal like something from a movie. She'd never seen anything like this in real life. Her supervisor, Karen, walked by just as Maya was opening it. Karen was the kind of person who always seemed to be in everyone's business, always looking over shoulders, always making little comments that stuck with you for the rest of the day. "What's that?" Karen asked, leaning in before Maya could even respond. Maya pulled out the card inside. It was an invitation. Not just any invitation. The CEO's annual holiday gala at his private estate. Black tie optional. RSVP by December 10th. She read it 3 times, her eyes scanning every word, looking for some kind of mistake. Maybe it was meant for a different Maya Santos. Maybe it was supposed to go to someone on the executive floor and got mixed up. Karen snatched it out of her hands before she could finish reading it a 4th time. "Oh my God," Karen said, laughing. "They really did send these to everyone. Even the mailroom." "That's hilarious." Maya felt her face get hot. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Karen said, handing the invitation back like it was a joke. "They probably have to invite everyone for legal reasons or whatever. Equal opportunity and all that. But nobody from down here actually goes to these things. It's for the executives, the managers, people who actually matter to the company." Maya took the invitation back and carefully slid it into her bag. "It has my name on it." "Sure it does," Karen said, already walking away. "But trust me, sweetie, you'd stick out like a sore thumb at something like that. Those parties are fancy, like really fancy. You'd just feel uncomfortable." The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Maya couldn't stop thinking about that invitation. She pushed her cart from floor to floor, handed out packages and envelopes, but her mind was somewhere else entirely. During her lunch break, she sat in the basement break room and pulled the invitation out again. She ran her fingers over the gold lettering. She'd never been invited to anything like this before. Not since she'd dropped out of college and taken this job. Ben sat down across from her, finally taking his headphones off. "What's that?" "Invitation to the CEO's holiday party," Maya said quietly. Ben's eyebrows went up. "Oh yeah, I got one of those too. Threw mine in the trash. Why?" He shrugged. "Because it's not for us. It's just a thing they do. They invite everyone, but it's really just for the people upstairs. The executives and their wives and girlfriends. The people who play golf together and go on cruises. Not the people who sort their mail." Maya looked down at the invitation again. "But what if I wanted to go?" Ben gave her a look like she'd just suggested jumping off a bridge. "Why would you want to do that? So you can stand around while everyone ignores you? So you can watch rich people drink expensive wine and talk about their stock portfolios?" "I don't know," Maya said. And that was the truth. She didn't know why she wanted to go. Maybe it was because nobody expected her to. Maybe it was because Karen had laughed at the idea. Maybe it was because she'd been invisible for so long that she wanted to exist. Just for one night in a space where people might actually see her. That evening, instead of going straight home, Maya stopped at the department store downtown. She had some money saved up. Not a lot, but enough. She'd been saving for months now, thinking maybe she'd use it for a vacation someday, or maybe to finally fix her car's broken air conditioning. But standing in that store, looking at the racks of dresses, she made a decision. The dress she chose was simple. Black because that seemed safe. Not too fancy, not too plain. It fit her perfectly, which felt like a small miracle. She also bought a pair of shoes that didn't hurt too much when she walked, and a small clutch purse because the invitation said it was black tie optional, and she figured that meant she couldn't just bring her regular backpack. The total came to more than she'd planned to spend. But when she looked at herself in the dressing room mirror, she almost didn't recognize the person staring back at her. She looked like someone who might belong at a fancy party. Maybe. The next day at work, she made the mistake of mentioning her purchase to a few people. Word spread fast in an office building. By afternoon, half the third floor seemed to know that the girl from the mailroom was planning to attend the CEO's gala. Rachel from Human Resources actually laughed out loud when she heard. "You're not seriously going, are you? I mean, no offense, but those parties are pretty exclusive. It's mostly for networking, executive-level stuff. You'd probably just feel out of place." Tony from finance was even less subtle. "I didn't know they were letting just anyone come now. Next year they'll probably invite the janitors too." Every comment felt like a little paper cut. Small, but they added up. Maya went home that night and hung the dress in her closet. She stared at it for a long time, wondering if everyone was right. Maybe she would just embarrass herself. Maybe she should return the dress and forget the whole thing. But then she thought about the last 2 years of her life. Working in the basement, being invisible, walking through hallways where people looked right through her, going home to her small apartment where she lived alone, ate dinner alone, went to bed alone. When was the last time she'd done something just because she wanted to? When was the last time she'd taken a chance on anything? She left the dress hanging in the closet. The party was in 3 days and Maya Santos had decided she was going. The night of the party arrived faster than Maya expected. She spent an hour getting ready, which was about 50 minutes longer than she usually spent on her appearance. Her hands shook a little as she applied makeup, something she rarely wore to work. The black dress fit just as well as it had in the store, but now, standing in her small bathroom mirror, she felt ridiculous. What was she doing? She worked in a mailroom. She sorted envelopes. She pushed a cart. Why did she think she belonged at a CEO's mansion? But she'd already bought the dress. Already RSVP'd, yes. And somewhere deep inside, beneath all the doubt and fear, there was a tiny voice that said maybe, just maybe, she deserved one nice night. The CEO's estate was in the hills about 40 minutes outside the city. Maya's old car rattled the whole way there, and she prayed it wouldn't break down. That would be perfect, wouldn't it? Stranded on the side of the road in a fancy dress with nowhere to go. But the car made it. She turned onto a private road lined with trees wrapped in tiny white lights. Other cars passed her, expensive ones. A Mercedes, a BMW. Something sleek and black that she couldn't even identify. Her beat-up sedan looked like it had wandered onto the wrong planet. The mansion appeared at the end of the driveway like something from a magazine. It was huge, with white columns and massive windows glowing with warm light. Valet attendants in white jackets stood at the entrance, opening car doors and handing out tickets. Maya pulled up and an attendant opened her door. She stepped out, wobbling slightly in her new shoes, and handed him her keys. He didn't say anything, just gave her a ticket and drove her car away to park it somewhere she couldn't see. For a moment, she just stood there looking up at the house. She could still leave. She could ask for her car back and drive home and nobody would ever know she'd been here. Instead, she took a deep breath and walked toward the entrance. The inside was even more overwhelming than the outside. A massive chandelier hung in the entryway, crystal teardrops catching the light and throwing tiny rainbows across the marble floor. To her left, she could hear music, a string quartet playing something classical and beautiful. To her right, waiters in crisp uniforms carried trays of champagne and appetizers that looked more like tiny pieces of art than food. Maya accepted a glass of champagne from a passing waiter, just to have something to hold. She'd never really liked champagne, but it seemed like what you were supposed to do at a party like this. She made her way into the main room and immediately felt every eye turn toward her. Probably not true, probably just her imagination, but it felt real. The room was full of people in designer dresses and expensive suits. The women wore jewelry that probably cost more than Maya made in a year. The men had watches that gleamed on their wrists like small treasures. And then she saw them. People from her building. Karen from the mailroom was there, wearing a dress that looked like she'd tried way too hard. She was talking to someone Maya didn't recognize, probably lying about what she actually did at the company. Rachel from Human Resources stood near the bar with a group of other women, all of them laughing at something. She wore a red dress that probably came from one of those stores Maya had only ever walked past, never into. And then Rachel saw her. Maya watched as Rachel's eyes went wide. Then as she leaned over and whispered something to the woman next to her, that woman looked over at Maya, then whispered to someone else. Like dominoes falling one after another, Rachel walked over, her heels clicking on the marble floor. She had a smile on her face, but it wasn't a friendly one. "Oh my God, you actually came," Rachel said, looking Maya up and down like she was examining something in a store window. "That's so brave of you." The way she said brave made it clear she meant something else entirely. "I was invited," Maya said quietly, taking a sip of champagne she didn't want. "Well, yeah, we were all invited," Rachel said. "But most people know which invitations are real and which ones are just, for show." She turned to the women behind her. "This is Maya. She works in the mailroom." The women smiled politely, but Maya could see it in their eyes. They were already dismissing her, already deciding she didn't matter. "That dress is cute," one of them said. "Is it from Target?" It wasn't. But Maya felt like even if she said where it was really from, it wouldn't matter. To these women, she'd always be the girl from the basement. "If you'll excuse me," Maya said, trying to move past them. But Rachel wasn't done. "Oh, don't run off. Stay and mingle. That's what these parties are for, right? Networking?" She said the word like it was a joke. Maya managed to escape and made her way toward the far side of the room, where fewer people were gathered. She found a spot near a window and tried to make herself invisible, which was ironic considering she'd come here to be seen. As the night went on, it only got worse. Tony from finance walked by and did a double take when he saw her. "Whoa, I didn't expect to see you here. Did you get lost on the way to a different party?" His friends laughed like he'd said something hilarious. A woman in a silver gown actually asked Maya if she was part of the catering staff. When Maya said no, the woman looked confused, like she couldn't understand what else Maya could possibly be doing there. Karen found her near the appetizer table. "See?" she said, grabbing a shrimp from a passing tray. "I told you this wasn't really for us. These people, they're on a different level. We're just here to fill space." Maya wanted to leave. She wanted to find the valet, get her car, and drive home where she could take off this stupid dress and forget this whole night ever happened. Her face felt hot. Her chest felt tight. She'd spent money she didn't have on a dress for a party, where everyone treated her like she was invisible or, worse, like she was a joke. She was making her way toward the exit when she heard someone's voice over a microphone. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming." Maya turned. On a small stage at the front of the room stood James Prescott himself, the CEO, the man whose name was on the building where she worked, whose mail she sorted, whose existence was so far above hers that they'd never even been in the same room before. He was older than she'd expected, maybe late 50s with gray hair and kind eyes. He wore a suit that probably cost more than her car, but he had a warm smile that made him seem almost approachable. "Almost. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves," he continued. "This is my favorite night of the year, getting to see everyone outside of the office in a more relaxed setting." People applauded politely. Maya stayed where she was near the back, planning her exit. "Now, as many of you know," James said, and something in his tone changed, became more personal, "we have a beautiful Steinway grand piano in the music room that rarely gets played anymore. Every year I hope someone will offer to play for us, but nobody ever does." He paused, looking out over the crowd. Maya's heart started beating faster, though she didn't know why yet. "So this year I'm going to ask directly," James said, his smile widening. "Does anyone here play the piano?" The room went completely silent. People looked at each other, shifted their weight, suddenly became very interested in their drinks. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Maya felt her hands start to shake. She'd been playing piano since she was 5 years old. It was the one thing in her life she'd ever been truly good at. The one thing that made her feel like maybe she was meant for something more than sorting mail in a basement. But she couldn't. Could she? After the way everyone had treated her tonight, after being laughed at and looked down on, did she really want to put herself out there even more? Her hand started to rise before her brain could stop it. Slowly, shakily, her arm went up into the air. The people around her turned to look. She heard someone gasp. Heard someone else laugh, quiet but definitely there. James Prescott's eyes found hers across the room. And he smiled. A real smile, warm and genuine. "Wonderful," he said. "Please come up here." Maya's legs felt like jelly as she started walking toward the stage. Every step felt impossible. She could feel dozens of eyes on her back, could hear the whispers starting up like rustling leaves. Rachel's voice carried across the room. "You've got to be kidding me." But Maya kept walking, one foot in front of the other, toward the stage, toward the CEO, toward the one thing that might make this terrible night mean something after all. Maya's heart hammered so hard she could hear it in her ears. Every step toward the stage felt like walking through water. The room had gone quiet except for the whispers, and oh, there were plenty of whispers. She caught fragments as she passed. Is she serious? This is going to be embarrassing. Someone should stop her. But nobody did stop her. And she didn't stop herself. James Prescott waited at the edge of the small stage, his hand extended to help her up the 2 steps. Up close, he looked different than she'd imagined. Less intimidating. There were smile lines around his eyes, and when he took her hand to steady her, his grip was gentle. "Thank you for volunteering," he said quietly. Just to her. "I was starting to think I'd have to play myself, and trust me, nobody wants that." It was meant to be a joke, meant to put her at ease. But Maya's throat was too tight to laugh. She managed a small smile, though it probably looked more like a grimace. He led her through an arched doorway into an adjoining room, and the crowd followed like a wave. Maya heard the shuffle of feet, the clicking of heels on marble, the murmur of voices growing louder. And then she saw it. The piano sat in the center of the room like a sleeping giant. A Steinway grand, glossy black, its surface so perfectly polished, she could see the chandelier reflected in it. The lid was already raised, waiting. The keys gleamed white and black under the soft lighting. Maya had seen pianos like this before years ago in another life. But she'd never played one. Not one this expensive, this perfect, this beautiful. "What's your name?" James asked. And Maya realized she'd been staring at the piano for too long. "Maya," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Then, remembering where she was, she added, "Maya Santos, sir." "It's nice to meet you, Maya Santos." He gestured toward the piano. "Do you need a moment, or are you ready?" The crowd had filled the doorway and spilled into the room. Maya could see them all now. Rachel stood in front with her arms crossed, that same smirk still on her face. Tony was shaking his head like he was already embarrassed for her. Karen had her phone out, probably ready to record Maya's humiliation and share it with everyone at work on Monday. And there, near the back, she saw Ben from the mailroom. He must have decided to come after all. He caught her eye and gave her a small nod. Not encouraging exactly, more like he felt sorry for her. "What will you play for us?" James asked. That was the question, wasn't it? What did you play at a CEO's mansion in front of people who thought you were nothing? What did you play when everyone expected you to fail? Maya walked slowly to the piano bench and sat down. The leather was soft, worn smooth by whoever used to play here. She adjusted her position, her fingers hovering over the keys. They were cool under her fingertips, smooth as glass. She could play something simple. Something safe. A basic piece that wouldn't challenge her, wouldn't give her a chance to mess up. That's what made sense, but when had Maya ever done what made sense? Rachmaninoff, she heard herself say. Piano Concerto No. 2. Someone in the crowd laughed. Actually laughed out loud. Maya didn't turn to see who it was. James Prescott raised his eyebrows, but he didn't look skeptical. He looked interested. That's quite ambitious. Are you sure? Maya wasn't sure about anything. Her hands were shaking. Her mouth was dry. She could feel sweat starting to form on her palms, which was terrible because you couldn't play piano with sweaty hands. But she nodded. I'm sure. The room grew even quieter. Someone coughed. Someone else shifted their weight and their shoes squeaked on the floor. Maya closed her eyes. She took one deep breath, then another, and then she began to play. The opening notes were soft, gentle, almost hesitant. Her fingers found the keys like coming home. Muscle memory taking over where conscious thought failed. The melody started to build, slowly, carefully, each note leading to the next. She'd first learned this piece when she was 16. Her piano teacher, Mrs. Chen, had told her she wasn't ready for it. "This is for advanced students," she'd said. "Students who've been playing for years." "I have been playing for years," Maya had replied. "Since I was 5. Mrs. Chen had sighed but handed over the sheet music anyway. "Don't say I didn't warn you." Maya had practiced for months, hours every day after school, until her fingers cramped and her back ached from sitting. Her mother used to bring her dinner on a tray because Maya wouldn't leave the piano bench. "You're going to play this in your sleep," her mother had joked. And Maya had. She dreamed in music, the notes following her everywhere she went. Now in this mansion, in front of these people who'd spent the whole night making her feel small, Maya let everything go. She forgot about Rachel's smirk and Tony's laughing and Karen's phone probably recording. She forgot about the CEO standing somewhere behind her. She forgot about the mailroom and the basement and the fluorescent lights and the squeaky cartwheel. She remembered only the music. The piece grew more complex, her hands moving faster, reaching across the keys. The left hand providing the deep resonant bass while the right hand danced through the melody. This was the section where most people messed up, where the timing got tricky and your fingers had to move faster than seemed possible. Maya didn't mess up. The music swelled, filling the room, filling her chest, filling everything. She swayed slightly as she played, her body moving with the rhythm, her eyes still closed. She could feel the music in her bones, in her blood, in every part of her. This was who she was. Not the girl who sorted mail. Not the girl everyone looked through. This was Maya, the girl who'd won the regional piano competition 3 years running. The girl who'd gotten a scholarship to Berklee College of Music. The girl who'd dreamed of playing in concert halls. The girl she'd forgotten existed. Her fingers flew across the keys, hitting every note with precision and passion. The difficult runs that had taken her weeks to master years ago came out perfectly. The soft sections were delicate as whispers. The loud sections thundered through the room. She reached the climax of the piece, the moment where everything came together, where all the different melodies and rhythms merged into something overwhelming and beautiful and heartbreaking all at once. And then, slowly, gently, she brought it back down. The ending was quiet, contemplative, like a question being asked. Her fingers played the final notes, soft and clear and perfect. The last note hung in the air for a moment, vibrating, fading, disappearing into silence. Maya opened her eyes. She'd forgotten where she was. For a few seconds she just stared at the keys, at her hands still resting on them, trembling slightly. Then she remembered. The mansion, the party, the people. She turned around slowly. The room was completely silent. Not a sound, not a breath. Everyone just stood there staring at her with expressions she couldn't quite read. And then James Prescott started clapping. It wasn't polite applause. It wasn't the kind of clapping you do because you're supposed to. His hands came together hard and loud, and there was something in his face that Maya had never seen directed at her before. Respect. The rest of the room erupted. Everyone was clapping, some people even cheering. Rachel's arms weren't crossed anymore. Tony's mouth was hanging open. Karen had lowered her phone. Maya stood up from the bench, her legs unsteady. She felt dizzy, lightheaded, like she'd just run a marathon. James walked toward her and she saw something she didn't expect. There were tears in his eyes. Actual tears. "That was extraordinary," he said, his voice thick. "Where did you learn to play like that?" Maya's own eyes were burning. "I studied at Berklee College of Music, sir, for 2 years. But I had to drop out when my mother got sick. The medical bill..." She trailed off. She didn't know why she was telling him this. "I took the job in your mailroom to help pay them." James was quiet for a long moment. He looked at her like he was really seeing her for the first time. Like everyone was seeing her for the first time. "Would you come with me?" he asked. "To my study? I'd like to speak with you privately." Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. As she followed him out of the room, she passed by all those people who'd made her feel so small just an hour ago. None of them were laughing now. James Prescott's study was nothing like Maya expected. She'd imagined something cold and corporate, all dark wood and leather and important-looking books nobody actually read. But this room was different. It was warm. Personal. The walls were covered with photographs. Family photos by the look of them. A younger James with his arms around a beautiful woman. A little girl on a swing. Beach vacations and birthday parties and Christmas mornings. A whole life captured in frames. But Maya noticed something as she looked closer. The more recent photos showed only two people. James and a teenage girl with long dark hair and his same smile. The woman from the earlier photos was gone. "Please sit," James said, gesturing to a comfortable chair near the fireplace. A real fire was burning there, crackling softly, filling the room with warmth. Maya sat, her hands folded in her lap. She still felt like she was floating, like the last 20 minutes hadn't been real. Had she really just played piano in front of all those people? Had they really applauded? James poured 2 glasses of water from a pitcher on his desk and handed her one. Her throat was dry, she realized. She took a grateful sip. He sat in the chair across from her, and for a moment he just looked at the fire. Maya waited, unsure if she was supposed to say something. "My daughter's name is Caroline," James finally said. "She's 17. She'll be 18 in March." Maya glanced at the photos again. The girl with the long dark hair. "She used to play piano," James continued. His voice was soft, heavy, with something Maya couldn't quite name. "Since she was 6 years old. It was her whole world. She'd practice for hours just like I imagine you did. She had talent, real talent. Her teacher said she could have gone professional if she wanted." He paused, taking a breath that seemed to hurt. 3 years ago, Caroline was in a car accident. A drunk driver ran a red light. His hands gripped the armrests of his chair. She survived, thank God, but her spine was damaged. She's been in a wheelchair ever since. Maya's chest tightened. "I'm so sorry." James nodded, acknowledging her sympathy but not quite accepting it. The physical therapy was hard. The recovery was hard. But the hardest part was watching her give up on music. "We have a piano at home, a beautiful one. Better than the one you just played. She won't go near it, won't even talk about music. It's like that part of her died in the accident." He looked at Maya now, really looked at her, and she saw the desperation in his eyes. "I've tried everything," he said. "I've hired the best therapists, the best teachers. I've begged her, encouraged her, even gotten angry, which I'm not proud of. But nothing works. She's convinced that if she can't play the way she used to, standing at the piano, moving the pedals with her feet, then there's no point in playing at all." Maya understood without him having to say it. She'd felt that way when she had to leave Berkeley. If she couldn't have music the way she'd dreamed it, the big stages and the concert halls, then what was the point? "I've been searching for someone who could reach her," James said. "Someone who understands what music really means. Not just the technical side, but the emotional side. The soul of it." He leaned forward. "When you played tonight, I heard something I haven't heard in years. Passion, real, genuine passion. You weren't playing to impress anyone. You were playing because you had to." Maya felt tears prickling her eyes. Nobody had understood that about her music before. Not even Mrs. Chen, as wonderful as she'd been. "Would you consider meeting Caroline?" James asked. "Maybe giving her lessons? I know it's a strange request and I'll pay you well for your time. I just think if she could meet someone like you, someone who's faced their own struggles but still has that love for music, it might make a difference." Maya's mind was racing. Her? Teach the CEO's daughter? A girl who'd lost everything and given up hope? "I'm not a teacher," Maya said quietly. "I mean, I've never taught anyone before. I don't know if I'd be any good at it." "You don't need to be a traditional teacher," James said. "You just need to be yourself. Show her that music can still exist even when life doesn't go the way you planned." The words hit Maya harder than she expected. Music can still exist even when life doesn't go the way you planned. Is that what she'd been doing? Letting her music die because she couldn't have it the exact way she'd imagined? "There's something else," James said, and his tone shifted slightly. "I'm also going to be speaking with our Human Resources Department first thing Monday morning. Someone with your education and your talent shouldn't be working in the mailroom." Maya's heart jumped. "Sir, I appreciate that, but I don't want charity. I don't want people thinking I got promoted just because I played piano at your party." "It's not charity," James said firmly. "It's recognizing potential that's been wasted. When I get to the office tomorrow, I'm going to pull your employee file. I'm going to see what skills you have, what your background is, what you're actually capable of. And then I'm going to find a position that makes sense. Does that seem fair?" Maya nodded slowly. It did seem fair. More than fair. "As for Caroline," James said, returning to the subject, I'm not asking you to decide right now. Think about it. Sleep on it. I'll have my assistant give you my personal number before you leave tonight. Call me if you're interested. They sat in silence for a moment, the fire crackling between them. Maya's head was spinning. An hour ago, she'd been ready to leave this party and never think about it again. Now everything had changed. Can I ask you something? Maya said. Of course. Why did you ask if anyone played piano tonight? You do it every year, you said. But nobody ever volunteers. Why keep asking? James smiled sadly. Hope, I suppose. I keep hoping that somehow, some way, the right person will be at one of these parties. Someone who can help Caroline. Tonight you raised your hand and I thought maybe, finally, my hope paid off. He stood up, signaling that their conversation was coming to an end. Maya stood too, smoothing down her dress. Thank you for playing tonight, Maya, James said. Truly. Even if you decide not to help with Caroline, thank you. You reminded me that beautiful things can come from unexpected places. Maya felt her cheeks flush. Thank you for listening. For really listening. He walked her to the door of the study and they stepped back out into the hallway. The party was still going on, but it sounded different now. Quieter somehow, or maybe Maya was just hearing it differently. One more thing, James said before they rejoined the others. Don't let anyone make you feel small. Not here, not at work, not anywhere. You're talented and educated and capable. The only person who gets to decide your worth is you. Maya's eyes burned again. She blinked rapidly, trying to keep the tears back. I'll remember that. They walked back into the main room together and Maya felt every eye turned toward them. But this time it felt different. Rachel wasn't smirking. Tony wasn't laughing. Karen had put her phone away entirely. Ben made his way through the crowd toward her. That was incredible, he said, and he sounded like he meant it. I had no idea you could play like that. Most people don't, Maya said. And maybe that was her fault. Maybe she'd been hiding for so long that everyone just assumed she had nothing to show. The rest of the party passed in a blur. People kept coming up to her, wanting to talk, wanting to know where she'd learned to play, complimenting her performance. Some of them were probably the same people who'd made fun of her earlier, though they were being careful not to mention that now. When she finally left around midnight, the valet brought her beat-up car around and she didn't feel embarrassed about it. She drove home with the windows down, even though it was cold, letting the night air clear her head. In her purse was a business card with James Prescott's personal cell phone number, written on the back in his own handwriting. Next to it was a note that said simply, "Call me, please, Caroline needs someone like you." Maya pulled into her apartment complex and sat in her car for a long time, just thinking. About the party, about the piano, about James and his daughter, about the mailroom and the past 2 years of her life, about who she used to be and who she'd become and who she might still be able to be. She pulled out her phone and looked at the business card again. Then she typed a quick text message. Hi, Mr. Prescott, this is Maya Santos. I'd like to meet Caroline. When would be a good time? She hit send before she could change her mind. The response came back in less than a minute. How about tomorrow afternoon? I'll send you the address. Thank you, Maya. You have no idea what this means. Maya smiled to herself as she finally got out of the car and headed up to her apartment. Maybe she didn't know what it meant to him, but she was starting to understand what it meant to her. It meant a second chance. For both of them. Maya arrived at the Prescott home the next afternoon with her hands shaking and her stomach in knots. The house was even more impressive in daylight. A sprawling estate with perfectly manicured gardens and a fountain in the circular driveway. She parked her car and sat there for a moment, gathering her courage. What was she doing? She wasn't a therapist. She wasn't even a real teacher. She was just a girl who could play piano and had made one impulsive decision at a party. But she'd already texted James. Already agreed to come. So she got out of the car and walked to the front door. James answered before she could even knock. He looked different in casual clothes, more relaxed, though Maya could see the tension around his eyes. Maya, thank you for coming, he said, stepping aside to let her in. Caroline doesn't know you're here yet. I thought maybe it would be better if you two just met naturally, without too much pressure. The inside of the house was beautiful but comfortable. Family photos everywhere, just like in the study. Fresh flowers in vases, sunlight streaming through tall windows. It felt like a home, not just a house. She's in the sunroom, James said, leading Maya through the house. She spends most of her time there. Reading, mostly. She used to hate reading, Always preferred playing piano to anything else. They reached a bright room at the back of the house, all windows and plants and soft cushions. And there, in her wheelchair near the window, was Caroline. She was beautiful. Long dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. Her father's features softened into something delicate. She was reading a book or pretending to. Maya could tell she was actually watching them approach. "Caroline, this is Maya Santos," James said gently. "She's the one I told you about. The one who played at the party last night." Caroline looked up, her expression carefully neutral. "Hi," she said, her voice flat. "I'll leave you two alone," James said, and before Maya could protest, he was gone. The silence stretched between them. Maya stood there awkwardly, not sure if she should sit down or keep standing. Caroline went back to her book, making it clear she had no interest in conversation. "Your dad said you used to play piano," Maya finally said, then immediately regretted it. Of course that's what everyone said. Of course that's what everyone tried to talk to her about. "Used to," Caroline said, not looking up. "Past tense. Right?" Maya moved to a chair near the window and sat down. "Look, I'm not here to give you some inspirational speech about overcoming obstacles or whatever. I'm pretty sure you've heard all that already." That got Caroline's attention. She lowered her book slightly, one eyebrow raised. "I'm also not going to pretend I understand what you've been through," Maya continued. "I don't. But I do understand what it feels like when the future you imagined gets taken away." Caroline was quiet for a moment. "What happened to you?" "I was at Berklee College of Music, second year. Full scholarship. I was going to be a concert pianist or maybe teach at a university or something. I had it all planned out." Maya looked out the window at the garden. "Then my mom got cancer. Stage 4. The medical bills were insane, even with insurance. I dropped out to work and helped pay them. She died 6 months later." "I'm sorry," Caroline said softly, and she sounded like she meant it. "The worst part wasn't losing her, even though that was horrible," Maya said. "The worst part was realizing that all my plans, all my dreams, they just didn't matter anymore. Life had other ideas. And I got angry about it. Really angry. I stopped playing piano for almost a year because every time I sat down at a keyboard, all I could think about was everything I'd lost." Caroline set her book down completely now. "So what changed?" "Honestly, nothing changed. I still lost my mom. I still had to drop out. I still ended up working in a mailroom instead of performing in concert halls." Maya met Caroline's eyes. "But I realized something. The music didn't leave me just because my circumstances changed. It was still there inside me waiting, and the only person stopping me from playing was me." "It's not the same," Caroline said, her voice tight. "You can still play the way you're supposed to." I can't use the pedals. I can't stand. I can't move the way I used to. It's not the same." "You're right," Maya said. "It's not the same. It's different. But different doesn't mean impossible." Caroline shook her head. "You don't understand. I was good. Really good. My teacher said I could have gone to Juilliard. And now I'll never be that good again. So what's the point?" "Can I show you something?" Maya asked. Caroline shrugged, which Maya took as permission. Maya stood and looked around. "Is there a piano here?" "In the living room," Caroline said quietly. "But I don't want to go in there." "That's okay. You don't have to." Maya pulled out her phone and searched for something. Then she turned the screen toward Caroline. "Watch this." It was a video of a pianist performing. But this pianist had no arms. He played with his feet, his toes moving across the keys with incredible precision and grace. The music was beautiful, complex, emotional. Caroline watched in silence, her eyes fixed on the screen. "His name is Liu Wei," Maya said. "He lost both arms in an electrical accident when he was 10. He taught himself to play piano with his feet. He won China's Got Talent." Maya put her phone away. "I'm not saying you need to play with your feet. I'm saying that music finds a way if you let it." Caroline's eyes were shiny with tears. "I'm scared," she whispered. "What if I try and I'm terrible? What if I'm not who I used to be?" "You're definitely not who you used to be," Maya said. "None of us are. We're all different people than we were yesterday, last year, 5 years ago. The question isn't whether you can be who you used to be. The question is whether you want to find out who you can become." They sat in silence for a long moment. Then Caroline took a shaky breath. "Will you play something for me?" she asked. "Here, I mean." "In the living room." I'll listen from here, but I want to hear it. Maya nodded. What do you want me to play? Anything. Something you love. Maya went to the living room and found the piano James had mentioned. It was even more beautiful than the one at the mansion. She sat down and thought about what to play. She chose something simple. Clair de Lune. Debussy. Something soft and sweet and full of longing. As she played, she heard movement behind her. She didn't turn around, didn't stop playing, but she knew Caroline had wheeled herself to the doorway. When Maya finished, the last notes fading into silence, Caroline spoke. Could you teach me how to use hand pedals? I read about them online. They're pedals you can operate with your hands instead of your feet. Maya turned around, smiling. I can do better than that. I'll help you figure out what works for you. Maybe hand pedals, maybe something else. We'll experiment. Caroline wiped her eyes. Okay, but just one lesson. To see if I even can anymore. Just one lesson, Maya agreed, knowing it wouldn't be just one. 6 months later, Maya walked into Prescott Industries wearing a new outfit and carrying a different kind of bag. No more mail cart, no more basement. She was the new director of Employee Development and Wellness Programs, a position James had created specifically for her. Her job was to identify employees whose talents were being wasted in positions below their potential and help them find better fits within the company. She'd already helped 3 people move into new roles. Ben from the